we could just get you to state your name and your grade, position.
Michael Hopkins, junior, pharmaceutical science major, student body president.
So give us a quick rundown of what happened prior to that night and then the night of.
So the Student Government Association and I were playing. So I've been advocating for a 24-hour library, and I mentioned that was part of my platform when I was running for student body president. And previously there had been extended library hours last semester for finals. However, those hours weren't very well publicized. And so the Chancellor's leadership team came back with analytics, and they showed that if we do extend the library hours, students didn't support it, therefore it's not worthy of like an investment in our money. Mm-hmm. And I told them that the reason that students didn't support it is because they didn't necessarily know about it. And I was, because it was my initiative as getting a 24-hour library, mm-hmm. I wanted to see how well I could go about getting the word out and seeing how well students would support it if they're, actively aware of the extended library hours and the purpose of those extended library hours. So I planned an event that I thought would advertise for those extended hours and help show that students would support the initiative. However, there are members of administration here at NCCU, specifically in the library, who didn't necessarily support my ideas because they didn't see the purpose behind them. And we got into a number of arguments over, I guess, the motives behind the event. And I kept trying to say that we, the students, take our academics seriously, and we want to use the extended library hours to study for our finals because we really have work to get done. But the narrative that was being spun was that NCCU students don't necessarily prioritize academics like that, and not everybody cares as much as I did, and that students would abuse the library or they wouldn't support it like they had done in the past.
And this was members of the administration in certain departments like the library?
The library specifically, and student affairs as well.
Okay. Take us through what happened that night. Like, if you can give times too, that'd be great.
So I was getting ready to go to the library. I know there was rumors that the certain administrators had started that the event didn't get approved. Mm-hmm. But I had to quell those rumors because I couldn't figure out why, our university wouldn't want us to support the extended library hours and why they wouldn't want us to study. Mm-hmm. So I kept saying, I'm still going to be in there with my pillow and my blanket and my work because I have an exam tomorrow. Mm-hmm. So I got to the library around 8:40ish. Mm-hmm. I know they had previously had an officer working the front door to make sure students weren't coming with pillows and blankets. But when I walked in, the officer had, I guess, left the post. Mm-hmm. And so I got into the library, I sat down with my pillow and my blanket, and I was approached by a member of the security team in the library. Mm-hmm. And she told me, I couldn't be there. And I asked to see that rule in writing and, maybe an explanation as to why. Mm-hmm. And so instead of getting me that, she came back with a campus police representative. Mm-hmm. And he proceeded to tell me that there wasn't necessarily an explanation or a written rule, and there didn't need to be. However, if I didn't follow it, I'd be asked to leave, and if I didn't leave, I'd be considered trespassing. Mm-hmm. So I guess I asked, why, and then he got, I don't know, I kind of enticed the situation, I'm not gonna lie, mm-hmm. but the end result was that he asked me to stand up and put me in handcuffs. Mm-hmm. And my question was, if I'm really trying to get work done, I'm really trying to study, why is that? Why would my university not support that? Mm-hmm. And I was escorted off the premises for the most part. Mm-hmm. Then I was approached by members of campus police and other administrators who were just arriving at the scene. And then I was taken to the police station where I was eventually detained, and I talked with members of student affairs mm-hmm. for probably a good 2 to 3 hours before I was, I spoke with the chancellor, and then, the event was allowed to continue on.
The chancellor called the police department? Okay.
I received the phone from a member of student affairs, and he was on it. Mm-hmm.
So, I see here there was a email sent to you, not the one that was sent out by the mm-hmm. by the university at large, but it was you posted on Twitter,
right.
And it is addressed to Mr. Williams and colleagues.
So Kent Williams is my advisor for Student Government Association. Mm-hmm. He forwarded me that email. Mm-hmm. So that was sent. I think I was meant to be CC'd on it, but mm-hmm. I didn't. So he forwarded it to me because I was supposed to receive that message. Mm-hmm. So that's basically the opinion of, as I stated, how administration felt about the event. And in there you see that they previously claimed that, students had misused the library and they didn't believe that we would use it for anything but a social gathering. Mm-hmm. Regardless of the time, during finals week, they really still thought we were coming in there mm-hmm. to have a party.
Yes, it says here, social engagement, such as a slumber party. Do you have any comment on how the administration, how you feel about members of the administration feeling that way toward the general student body?
So I will be honest and say that a lot of the opinions I received from administration were that we don't necessarily feel that way about you. You know, me being specifically Michael Hopkins, student body president, you know, they said, we know you use the library for the right purposes, but the general students might not. And that's where, you know, the assumptions that, you know, we turn into a social gathering where students wouldn't necessarily study. So, and that really offended me deeply because I felt, you know, as a student here at NCCU, I felt that if that's how our administration views us as students, what does that really say about our place, our institution of higher learning?
And it creates a culture of it's not necessarily you,
right,
but it's everyone else we're worried about, which is still students at this university.
And the point I was overall trying to make, as I stated previously, or, you know, with administration, with the students, and everybody at large, is that I think there are students at NCCU who care enough about their education and who will support extended library hours to the point where they would be willing to sleep in the library to get their work done and show the administration that we really would utilize the library for the right purposes. And I feel like the students came through and they supported not just the first night, but the second night as well. And it really showed that students do prioritize academics regardless of what the administration assumes about us.
How many students would you say were there on both nights? Or just one night or the other?
The first night, you know, it dwindled down. I would say by the time I was released from the police station and I first got to the library, there was over 200 students in the library. At the end of the night, you know, by the time I went to sleep and woke up in the morning, I think maybe by 7 a.m. we probably still had about 20 to 30 students in there. There's official numbers that they kept track of as far as like administration, so they do have those numbers on record.
The library would? Okay.
So I'm not sure the exact numbers, but there was a good number of students who were in there getting work done all night. And then all the way until yesterday, we probably still had about 10 students who slept over, including myself.
So you were there both nights?
Yeah, both nights.
All right. So you said that interim chancellor Akinleye, he supported this. He called you at the station. Would you consider that unusual for necessarily? Because it's not necessarily that he's a private man by any means, but this is definitely an after hours situation. What do you think that says about his dedication to the university, things like that?
I definitely think that he and I were on the same page. And I'm kind of confused by why myself and the rest of the administrators who disagreed with the event weren't on the same page. Because after I spoke with him about, you know, the point behind the initiative, he explained to me the primary issue was the word party and the slumber party and how that might be, you know, taken differently by different people. And I don't know if you saw it, but there was another flyer for a library lock-in. And he was like, you know, that would have been approved by myself. I support what that's about. You know, when you say library lock-in, it's not, there's really no way to miscommunicate what the message is about. Like, we're in the library. So when you say party, you know, it suggests things that might necessarily be a party. And I understood that, and I said, well, if I had been approached in that manner, I would have been more likely to have, you know, conceded because we already had a second flyer made. So it wasn't a matter of like we were attached to the slumber party idea because the initial motive was to support the library hours. However, I felt the manner I was approached in was a lot more adversarial. I felt like a lot of the people who told me I couldn't weren't asking me why I wanted to do what I was doing. They were just telling me what I wasn't gonna do. And in that way, it became a power play ultimately. And I proceeded with the event anyways because my motive was still to study because I still had an exam the next day and I still wanted to show that NCCU supports education.
So would you consider this, like the study jam, things like that, would you consider that and the extended library hours a success as the first part of your official?
Most definitely.
Yes.
Most definitely. I think the point was definitely made, and I was even told that the point was made. However, I was asked to not concede, but compromise, and just like go back to the library and continue studying without my pillow and my blanket. But the message I thought would be misconstrued then, because regulating how and when and where students study doesn't really send a message that you support education. And eventually when I spoke with the chancellor, he agreed, and that's why I was allowed to go back in with my pillow and my blanket, because there should never be a reason why students turned away from the library.
Do you have any final thoughts on the situation at large? Advice for students going into finals week at the end? Just things like that?
For finals, I would say finish strong. You're almost there. All right, and just make sure you study and do your best. And as long as you do your best, you really can't have any regrets. Okay. To the situation at large, I would say thank you to NCCU and the students who feel the same way that I do. I knew that there are students who care about their education as much as I do. And I think that showed in the results of how many students showed up and supported the extended library hours. And to NCCU as a whole, I would just say that hopefully, we can look towards getting a future 24-hour library.